Hello wonderful people, Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and today I'm going to be doing a live review of the new compilation from Malignant Music, Malignant Volume 2. Here we go, the second multi-artist compilation from Marauder's Malignant label. The first since last August, I think, and don't know if they're going to be putting out another one this year, but I quite like the idea of a label putting out just one compilation every year, and not overdoing it on that front, which quite a few labels in this scene seem to be doing at the moment. But yeah, anyway, I did enjoy that first one a decent amount. The UK one in particular, I think it's called Alarm Song, was one of my favourite tracks of 2020. One thing that I must say I'm a little bit disappointed by would be the artwork here for Volume 2. Basically just exactly the same as the last one. Don't know why it wasn't changed up that significantly or that much. Would have liked a bit of difference there, but anyway, 13 tracks here, some big names, having just a look through the track listing here, and excited to get into it. And yeah, hearing them all here for the first time, providing comment along the way. Yeah, you know how we do, let's go. First up here we have Marauder himself with Wrath, or Wrath, you know, whatever you like to go for. Very classic, impending doom kind of Marauder introduction here. Be a good one to open up a set with, I think, this one. Oh, it's that one. It's that one. Oi, oi. It's a particular ID that's been had quite a bit of controversy surrounding it, if you remember right. I have to say, that is one of the better Marauder tracks that I've heard in the last, year and a half or so. The idea was fun, had a good dynamic to it. Instead of just the, blaring, tear-out kind of sound without much of, much invention on show, I think this one keeps the listener locked in very, very well. Yeah, the introduction was very, drawn out and extensive. A good way of opening up the track and the compilation, actually. Just a good introduction overall, and had a good kind of surging, warm musicality beneath it, just kind of propping it up and, yeah, introducing again the track and compilation well. For the most part, just a very classic Marauder kind of tune in feel, that bellowing, tear-out kind of sound, but again, for me, different in that, yeah, just got a bit more invention, a bit more flavour, just a bit more spontaneous in the layout of sounds. And, that's what I want to hear from him, not just the kind of bam, dam, bam, 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 dam, bam, just very repetitive on that front. He keeps it lively, keeps you engaged, and, yeah, just not entirely sure of which direction it's going to go in. There was a part of me that maybe had a slight hint of the production feeling like it could have been a bit sharper, just a bit snappy and a bit more, yeah, just a bit more refined, a bit sharper, all of that. That could just be my speaker, what I'm listening to now. It could be different when I hear it on headphones, but yeah, that was something that I noticed just a little bit. Marauder just kind of doing his thing here. Not the best I've heard from him by, by any means, but, for sure, one of the best that I have heard from him in a decent while, I would say. Yeah, decent stuff. Next up, we have Urio System by UK. Yeah, little dagger-like, digging, like drilling into the ground kind of thing going on here. I think for me, for the most part, the main idea, just, quite basic, quite straightforward, just going, but those little overlaying touches, I just know that kind of flavour, that kind of colour, I'm just going to enjoy so much as I hear it again and again and just get used to it more and more. He's just so good at that, like having a pretty straightforward idea and not doing all that much in the main kind of concept of the track. But the background stuff, the overlaying touches, just it brings you in. That's the flavour, that's the colour. know what I mean? Like, it definitely is like a little machine drill, like someone just drilling into the ground and doing a bit of roadworks, you know what I mean? Oi, oi. That kind of snare, not my kind of snare, just feels a bit flat, could have been a bit sharper. For me, would make the idea itself just a lot fresher, and yeah, just, I think, cleaner and better on the air. But I mean, this for me is just classic UK again for the most part, like a pretty standard, you know, straightforward idea for the most part. The concept itself, you know, the main concept, not doing all that much, just do. But again, it's just the background touches with him and the overlaying stuff that brings you right in. And I can imagine, you know, it was the same with Alarm Song. When I first heard it, I can't remember exactly what I said in my live review of that compilation, but I remember thinking, you know, pretty basic, pretty standard idea. Can't imagine that I'm gonna, you know, enjoy it that much going forward. But, you know, the more you hear UK, the more you kind of get used to his style, the more you realise that, yeah, that is what he's about. Like having, you know, the rhythm format just kind of play out, and then the overlaying stuff just keeping it catchy, keeping it infectious, keeping it memorable. UK is doing UK here very well, is basically what I would say. Yeah, I mean, basically what he's about, just packaged here into another neat little confined and cheeky number. So, yeah, vintage UK here for the most part. Then we have Vendetta by Subfiltronic. Oi, oi. Come on, any excuse to get these out, lads. You know, just one of them. Okay, here we go. I do enjoy the flow here, I like the rhythm. That main sound though, I think maybe could have been in a higher pitch, just a bit brighter, because it has quite a depressed feeling to it. It means the track kind of, you know, in spite of the backdrop being quite lively and the flow being good, that main sound just, you know, brings it down a bit. It brings, kind of sucks the life out of it, in my opinion. Definitely an idea with potential. Again, I'm liking the liveliness of it, and just the layout of sound is good, I think. But it just needs, for me, just freshening up all round. The energy, very good. Loving the way that these sounds are kind of darting out everywhere. Very nice, but the sound itself just has a bit of a grating, harsh feel to it. Do you know what I mean? It's the thing here for me of enjoying the idea, but not quite the execution. Yeah, again, a lot of potential here for unleashing it in a different way, making it a bit brighter, a bit fresher, but yeah, it just kind of feels a bit too grainy for me, a bit too harsh on the ear. Just had a lot of potential for unleashing it in a more fresh and exuberant, more lively way given the layout of sound. But yeah, that would be my thoughts on that one. Moving on, we have Autumn Hay and Vile with Vile. Oh! Oh, it's a good idea. The range of sounds, the dynamic between them, really good. Just such a shame about that snare. Like, why so muddy for? Why so muddy and distorted and contorted and swapped out for? Oh man. Again here, left thinking about potential. And, ooh. See, like, you can hear there, you guys have gone there for a very clear and sharp snare. How can you not hear that muddy one in the dubstep that we just got just doesn't work? I don't get it. Like, See, the idea is so good. The range of sounds here again, the dynamic between them. But that, it's just so, I can't ignore that. It really does, as I said before, just take away from the sharpness and cleanness of the idea, the potential of which is kind of lost as a result. So just explaining here my enjoyment and experience of that tune, that heaviness. You know, it could be different when I hear it on headphones, but that was how it was coming across to me after one listen. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that one from Autumn Hay and Vile. After that, we have Papakan with Disabled.
Please identify yourself.
Again here, kind of like the Subfiltronic in that the energy of it is good. I'm liking how lively it is, but yeah, that main sound, it just has such a downbeat feel to it. Quite, again, depressed in feel. I think a higher pitch on that sound may have worked better, just for giving it a bit more life to support the outlay of sound and the energy we get there. As a result, the idea just being okay, you know, again, there is good energy there, but it just feels a bit, you know, doesn't quite hit that point and that mark of good feeling for me. You know, by this point, this idea, that sound really is kind of droning on a bit, I'd have to say. Some good melodic touches here and there, actually very good on that front. You know, the kind of stuff we're getting here, this, you know, flickering stuff in the midsection, I think was very good for that. The introduction in parts as well. But yeah, the heaviness, I'm, you know, it's just kind of trudging along. Feels, you know, even though the layout, again, very lively, a lot of energy there, just the idea just has a very, very downbeat and kind of lost in itself kind of execution and appeal. Overall, just a bit of an okay tune from Papakan. The musical touches, again, very good. Did enjoy that that string section that we got just at the end there in the outro. And elsewhere in the track, I think musically very on point. The little flickers and little touches here and there, which were good and classic of him. But yeah, the heaviness here just very ordinary, and yeah, just that thing of, you know, trudging along, not having that much invention to it, and just feeling a bit, getting a bit lost in itself, I would say, and not quite breaking free from that with a bit of invention, with a bit of ingenuity at any point. And I suppose the one last thing that I want to say here with this tune is the choice of title for this track, and I do really want to know where that's come from, how it kind of aligns with the song itself, and just what it means, why he went for that that name for a track title. Quite interesting. Would like to know why it's called that. Yeah, let us know. Moving on, we have Fog Horny by Joe B. Okay. Okay, a bit of DNB.
You fuck up.
Oi! Oh, woohoo! Yeah, boy. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. You know, I discussed it in my Must Die review, which I put out yesterday. You know, not often that a predominantly dubstep producer does drum and bass well, but that is a good example. That is a good example. The percussion clean, the idea simple, riveting, it's hitting hard. You know, a couple of EQing problems, I think, you know, a couple of the sounds being a bit too at the forefront, but the overall idea is good.
You fuck up. You fuck up.
Oh! Vocal samples are good as well. They're like, you fuck up, yeah. Oi, that was fiery, famalam. Yep, 100% my pick here so far. Just, yeah, a good example, as I was mentioning before, of a dubstep producer doing drum and bass music, which is rare. The production was clean, the idea was simple, the mix of sounds was very good throughout the heaviness, and that winding down feel, just kind of very, very manic in feel. I did touch on this before. There were a couple of moments where it just felt like the EQing wasn't quite there, and that a couple of the sounds were just a bit too at the forefront, and the voluming and kind of relationship between them wasn't quite there, but for the most part it was on point on that front, And again, I just love when that nifty, tricksy D&B kind of approach is done well. Very popular at the moment in drum and bass music itself, and good to hear dubstep producers kind of going for it and doing it well. Kind of like a descending helicopter, if you will. But yeah, foghorns in full flow definitely got me fog horny, and yeah, that was my pick here so far from Joe B. Following on from there, we have Baboon by Butte Noise. Okay. Yeah! Oh! Oh! That little jumpiness is so good, just so on its feet, very lively. The layout of sound here, I mean, that's just a very, very good and fun idea, isn't it, basically? Pure invention, pure creativity just shining through. Here we go again, double drop. Okay. Oh. Oh. Die. Man. Come on, man. That snare. You're playing yourself. Ah, man. This drop just feels so stodgy and like I'm kind of wading through mud. Ah. Following that first drop, just how off the wall and lively and energetic and colourful it was, and the note placement being so good. The hope was, you know, following that and on the back of that, it would kick on and really just kind of unleash something even more wild on the back of that. But that second drop was just overwhelmingly stodgy and just swamped out again. You know, that thing of, I don't know, you know, the sound was so fresh and so clean and so refined in that first half of the track. And why, I just don't know why you would go down that route for the second drop when it could have just been another very clean and just, oh God, I don't know, a bit of a lost opportunity in my opinion. A load of amazing here on this Butte Noise song, and some of the best stuff genuinely that I've heard in a while in terms of colour and layout and production. But yeah, then, you know, for the other half of it, in equal measure, we get stuff here that just is pretty much the exact opposite. You know, a bit of energy there still, but it's just completely taken over by that backdrop, which again, just very distracting from that idea that we get. So yeah, equal parts, extremely good, you know, very good, awesome in fact, and yeah, equal parts, just a bit flat and a bit if I'm being honest. So yeah, bit of a tale of two halves situation going on there with Butte Noise. Then we have Cloudfoo by Akira.
The sky is high. The cloud is low.
Yeah, again here for me, this is a kind of tune where I'm just like, it's okay, it's fine. Not bringing that much new to the table. A couple of interesting moments there, a bit of spice to it with the vocals and whatnot, just kind of dropped in. Quite nifty, but I mean for the most part, yeah, just fine. Yeah, the transitioning is a little bit odd as well, from the builds into the drops. A decent range of sounds, to be fair, and it is ravenous, it's got some good energy to it, but I mean the idea is just, for me, just so simple, just like, not getting a lot out of it, feel like I've heard it before kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, not much else to say if I'm being honest. Then we have Salt Shaker from Executioner. Okay. Some good sounds in here, but I mean, not quite enough going on for me. Just feeling a bit sloth-like and lethargic, and yeah, just not quite enough going on. The production again feeling quite muddy and distorted, which I'm not a massive fan sorry. I get what he's going for here. Just a bit weird, a bit quirky maybe. But yeah, for me, just not quite enough going on. A lot of people like that kind of clunky, falling over itself, very overly mechanical, and like a kind of vehicle or machine starting up kind of approach and appeal. But yeah, not for me. It's just ineffective in what it's going for, and could have had quite a bit more going on given the idea. But then again, you know, that might just be what he was going for, the appeal, and again, some people might enjoy it, and probably will. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that one. Next up, we have Agony by Guppy. This one's a bit of a madness, you know. Lots going on, loads of different sounds, just kind of firing out of nowhere. Very weird, very out there, very quirky, you know, typical Guppy, just with a bit more energy beneath it, I think, which is good. That's welcome for sure. Oh, it's just relentless, this one, isn't it? Fucking hell. Ooh. Very odd. I think, you know, before having heard it, if you'd said to me, you know, just imagine Guppy's style but with a bit more pace to it and a bit more energy beneath it, then that is exactly, you know, what you would get. Just very freakish and weird, and again, odd, but with a bit more franticness to it than usual, which is good, you know, very welcomed. Up until now, from what I remember, only really heard his style in that more low-key and down-to-earth kind of rhythm approach, but here it was all going on. It was wild, it was weird, and yeah, I mean, quite mind-boggling actually, as a combination of sounds, and you never quite knew which direction it was going to go off in. I think if there was one thing that I would maybe, you know, comment on here as a bit of room for improvement, that first drop I think could have been expanded and built on just a little bit more, but then again, maybe that was fitting and working with the whole weird and quirky outlay of sound that we were getting here in jumping quickly from one drop to another. Very all over the place, but I think it works. And the production was good. I think some of the best I've heard from him yet. He still kept it together, which I think is very commendable, given just how much was going on. Yeah. So that one was good. One of the best Guppy tunes, I would say, that I've heard so far. Good stuff. Final few. First up, we have Nimda with Yo, Yes. Oh my days, that is so sick! What the fuck? Yeah, that one's working. I've heard a lot of that kind of music in the last, you know, few months or so. That booming, tear out, big room kind of approach. But, you know, rarely do the ideas just have that kind of scintillating appeal to them. Really, really on point in that regard. Oh. Oh! Fucking hell. These bits, man. Oh! The timing. The sounds themselves, like, oh, that idea just fucking hits like, oh, that is good. Again, I have heard a lot of that style in recent times, and, you know, it's rare, I think, that you just get that kind of energy, that kind of unpredictability just injected into that style, and it's very good. It works a lot. You know, for the most part, from what I've heard of that style of music, it's just quite formulaic and quite straightforward with the layout of sound. It's just continually just going ba ba bum bum ba ba bum bum ba ba bum bum. But I mean, this one kept it very fresh, and you never knew quite, quite what direction it was going to go in, keeping it just on its feet, on its toes, and the listener guessing, which is good. On top of that, the production here is some of the best that I've heard, not only from him ever, but also in that style ever. And that is exactly what I mean by a snare and the just percussion overall, really backing up the idea that we get. The smack of it, just the definition of it was so on point, really backing up the ideas that we got. And I think the only point of contention for me that I wasn't maybe massive on was the opening or the beginning of the second drop, from what I remember. Yeah, not quite as inventive and a bit more straightforward with the idea and the layout of sound in comparison with the first one. One of the better tunes that I've heard in that style in recent times, and one of my favourites from NAWTY ever, for sure. Fucking good.
Wait, Dad. Aren't you gonna check the closet for monsters?
Bit creepy, but yeah, penultimately here we have Dark Figure by Stag. I think it's quite a good idea, the kind of one that I can imagine being insane live. Overly dark, beastly, as we can hear here, just kind of stomping around. Yeah, for me, not doing quite enough with the idea. Don't know what it's going to do now with the second drop, but yeah, just fine, just fine. I really enjoy, for the most part, how each main drop in the progression just becomes a bit more, just has a lot more to it, and just the layering of sound here in those progression moments is good. But again, it does just feel like maybe a bit indecisive in terms of what it wants to do. I do enjoy the darkness of it, again, quite big, roomy, stompy, and again, would go off live. But the idea for me, well, the ideas we get here, not quite doing enough, not quite unleashing enough in that idea to make it something that I want to hear again and again. Can't forget, actually, the introduction with that creepy vocal sample, which was good. I enjoyed that. That definitely set the tone well and created a bit of atmosphere. But yeah, the heaviness, I think, of course, as always with dubstep music, playing the focal role here. And yeah, not quite pushing far enough for me on that front. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that one. And finally here today, we've got Jaded by Decay. Okay, let's go. Hasn't this been in an Odd Prophet tune before? Pretty sure. That's the kind of stuff that I must admit I'm a little bit indifferent towards when it comes to the, tear out, big room kind of thing. Ooh! Okay. Yeah, I was going to say earlier, I love the manic appeal here. Very, very large, big roomy again, that tear out kind of in-your-faceness, but the percussion is not quite there for me, feels a bit flat, and the idea just a little bit predictable, just dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun, this kind of stuff, I just feel a little bit like I've heard before, if I'm being honest.
My legs are flagrant! My legs are flagrant, bro! That's accurate.
Yeah, overall, a quite abrasive way to finish off there, and not to say that there isn't anything that I enjoy about that kind of style, with reference to what I was saying before about it, because I do like the energy and the range of sounds involved, and just how full on it is, how in your face that style can get. But we do need a bit of variation when it comes to that. The changes, for example, the slight alterations that we got in the NAWTY track, just to give an example, were they're slight, but they are important in just unleashing that style, that approach in an effective and new way, which I'm not sure we quite get here with this Decay one. Just a bit more formulaic, a bit more run-of-the-mill when it comes to the tear-out kind of approach. One other thing that I would say is good for it is that the vocal sample, I think, was perfectly fitted with the instrumental and the heaviness that we got. But yeah, that will be my thoughts on that closer there from Decay. And in rounding up here, I think, yeah, just another pretty varied Malignant compilation right here. You got some more melodic futury stuff, got more experimental stuff, a bit of tear out, some more outright rhythm, a bit more bleepy bloopy kind of stuff. So yeah, I think difficult to kind of group them all together and give general thoughts when I think, yeah, it might be a bit easier to just kind of go through the highlights and say what I think on that front. So I think for me, the Joe B, fantastic little D&B experiment there from him, very finely cut. The Butte noise, I think in parts, at least half of it was very, very good, very colourful. The note placement there, insane. The Guppy was just his weird and experimental style, unleashed with a bit more energy and a bit more just pace to it, which was good. Hadn't quite heard that before. And Nimda's tune was one of the best of its kind that I've heard in quite a while. Altering and changing from the more formulaic approach that you would associate with it, and just, giving it a bit more invention and flavour in the exact right ways, with the production being good, which is more, again, than can be said for that style for the most part. So yeah, several here, I think maybe just about over half here not being quite my cup of tea, whether for the idea or the production, but which I imagine others will like. So yeah, I think overall a solid compilation here that many will enjoy for the most part. And those ones that I'm not that big on, I will be listening to a fair few times more. I'm going to be going through this compilation volume 2 a couple more times, a few more times start to finish, and with headphones as well. So who knows how that will change my interpretation of a couple of these tunes that I wasn't quite that big on this first listen. But yeah, a couple of those, yeah, hopefully they will grow on me just a bit, because at the moment, just a few here, just 4 for me that I do have as favourites on the compilation, and which I'm highlighting as the standouts. Again, those being the Joe B, the Butte noise, well, at least for half of it, I would say, which is pretty exceptional, and the Guppy and the Nimda. So yeah, that would be that for my live review of Malignant Volume 2. Hope you enjoyed. But now I want to hear from you. What are you guys making of Malignant Volume 2 so far? How many times have you heard it up till now? Came out last Friday, of course. And also, which tracks of the 13 are your picks? Drop them all, and drop all of your views, thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Beyond that, keep it naughty. If it's naughty, then you know. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace.